Indonesia's history is filled with stories of struggle, defiance, and unrelenting spirit. But among all the pivotal moments in its long journey toward freedom, one battle towers above the rest, not because it resulted in a decisive military victory, but because of its symbolic power, its tragic heroism, and its unshakable legacy. The Battle of Surabaya, fought in November 1945, was a moment of ignition. It was the inferno that lit the fire of independence across the archipelago. It was the day a young republic, barely months old, looked its former colonizers in the eye and said, "No more." When the Japanese Empire surrendered in August 1945, World War II came to an end. But for Indonesia, the war's end marked the beginning of an entirely new conflict. Japan had occupied the Dutch East Indies for over 3 years, brutally displacing the colonial Dutch rulers. During the occupation, Japanese forces had, intentionally or not, awakened a sense of national identity among the Indonesian people. They armed and trained local militias to assist with their operations, and they encouraged nationalist movements to gain public support. When Japan fell, it left behind not just weapons, but also a political vacuum, and a country ready to claim its destiny. On August 17, 1945, just 2 days after the Japanese surrender, nationalist leaders Sukarno and Muhammad Hatta proclaimed Indonesia's independence. The news spread like wildfire. In the cities and villages across Java, Sumatra, and beyond, red and white flags replaced Japanese and Dutch emblems. For a brief moment, the archipelago tasted the sweetness of freedom, but it would not last. The Dutch were determined to reclaim their prized colony, and they were not alone. The British, tasked with disarming the Japanese and maintaining order in Southeast Asia, soon landed troops on Indonesian soil. Though officially neutral, their real mission aligned with Dutch interests. This made them the face of the enemy in the eyes of many Indonesians. Nowhere did this clash of wills manifest more violently than in Surabaya, East Java. A city known for its revolutionary spirit, Surabaya became the beating heart of Indonesia's resistance. It was a cauldron of tension, with nationalist militias, returning Dutch officials, British Indian soldiers, and a population filled with anger, pride, and confusion. The Indonesian youth, the Pemuda, took the lead. They seized weapons from surrendered Japanese units, organized themselves into fighting groups, and began fortifying the city. To them, there was no going back. Independence had been declared. To accept anything less would be betrayal. In late October 1945, the powder keg exploded. A British force under Brigadier AWS Mallaby entered Surabaya to negotiate disarmament. The Indonesian fighters were suspicious, and things quickly spiraled out of control. On October 27, fighting broke out between British troops and Indonesian militias. Skirmishes erupted across the city. Buildings burned. Civilians fled or joined the fight. For 3 days, chaos reigned. On October 30th, a ceasefire was arranged, but before the dust could settle, tragedy struck. Brigadier Mallaby was killed under mysterious circumstances near the Red Bridge. The British accused Indonesian fighters of murder. Whether it was a misunderstanding or deliberate, the effect was catastrophic. The British High Command, furious at the loss of one of their top officers, issued an ultimatum to the Indonesian forces in Surabaya: surrender by November 9th or face total destruction. The ultimatum was rejected. Indonesian leaders, including Bung Tomo, whose fiery radio broadcast became the voice of the revolution, rallied the people. He told them, in no uncertain terms, that it was better to die as free men than live under foreign rule again. His words echoed through the streets, over the airwaves, into the hearts of the young and the desperate. Resistance wasn't just an option, it was a duty. At dawn on November 10th, 1945, British forces launched a full-scale assault. It was, one of the largest military operations in Southeast Asia since the end of World War II. The sky darkened with the roar of British warplanes. Artillery shelled entire neighborhoods. Tanks rolled down streets lined with makeshift barricades. Ships in the harbor bombarded the city from the sea. The attack was merciless. But what the British encountered was not a broken populace. It was a city ablaze with defiance. The Pemuda, many of them teenagers, fought with unmatched resolve. They had limited training, outdated weapons, and hardly any supplies, but they knew every alley, every rooftop, every drainpipe. They used guerrilla tactics, ambushes, and hit-and-run attacks. Children acted as couriers, dodging bullets to deliver messages. Women cooked for fighters and cared for the wounded. Elderly men took up arms alongside their sons. This was not a professional army, it was a people's war. For 3 weeks, Surabaya refused to fold. The British suffered hundreds of casualties, many from their own Indian troops who sympathized with the Indonesian cause and sometimes refused to fight. It was a grueling, bloody campaign. The city was turned into rubble. Smoke choked the skyline. Water and electricity failed. Food ran low. But morale remained high. The people of Surabaya were not fighting for territory. They were fighting for dignity. By the end of November, the British eventually gained control of the city. But it was a hollow victory. The cost had been devastating. More than 6,000 Indonesians had died, most of them civilians and young fighters. Thousands more were injured or displaced. Entire districts had been flattened. But in death, the people of Surabaya had achieved what weapons could not. They had sent a message to the world. Indonesia would not be colonized again without a fight. The international community took notice. News of the battle spread to India, the Middle East, and even the United States. It put pressure on the Dutch and their British allies. More importantly, it unified the Indonesian people. The bravery shown in Surabaya became a symbol of national resistance. Even regions that had been ambivalent about independence now stood firm. The blood spilled in Surabaya cemented the legitimacy of the new republic in the eyes of its citizens. In the years that followed, the revolution raged on. Indonesia would not fully achieve recognized independence until 1949, after more battles, diplomatic negotiations, and international pressure. But ask any Indonesian where the heart of the revolution beat the loudest, and they will tell you, Surabaya, 1945. Today, November 10th is commemorated as Hari Pahlawan, Heroes Day. Schools teach the story, veterans are honored, monuments and memorials stand tall. The city of Surabaya wears its scars like medals. Streets are named after fallen heroes. Museums display bullet-riddled helmets, tattered flags, and the journals of those who never returned home. But more than just a memorial, the battle serves as a compass. It reminds the people of Indonesia that their independence was not gifted. It was earned with sacrifice, pain, and impossible courage. It's a lesson that reverberates even now, in every act of resistance, in every voice that dares to speak out, and in every child who learns what it meant to fight for a country not yet born. The Battle of Surabaya was not won with tanks or treaties. It was won with spirit, with the kind of defiance that turns ordinary people into legends. And in that sense, it wasn't a loss at all. It was the beginning of a national identity, forged in fire, sharpened by grief, and immortalized in the hearts of millions.